Good afternoon and welcome to Seattle's Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Edwards, managing broker of the Seattle Real Estate Team. It is Thursday, January 30th, 2025. We have a fantastic show today. We have our good friend Tucker Maxwell will be here to talk about our financing. And then we have Brian Ferguson, King of Trades. He's going to talk to us about some of the things you can do right now to get your home either ready to sell or just up the value of it. As we approach the spring, you may have some ideas and some projects. And so we'll talk to him about what he's able to do and what he advises with regards to that. But first, we're going to jump into our Real Talk segment. Our Real Talk segment this week is all about selling in 2025. So let's jump to our Real Talk segment. So in our Real Talk segment, we're talking about home tips for home sellers in 2025. And I know we do this pretty frequently. We talk about what it takes to get a home ready. So we're certainly going to talk about that, but I wanted to put a little bit of a twist on today's. First off, let's talk about maximizing the equity and the pricing strategy and how to prepare yourself for a market that we think is going to be pretty good. And one of the things that many of my brokers, as we're talking through this market, is we see some homes that are sitting on the market and some homes that are moving quickly. So how do you maximize the equity that you have by not only understanding the market conditions, but also pricing the home? So pricing the home is really critical. And I think that a big mistake that many home sellers make is overestimating what they see their home is worth. Oftentimes, as I sit down to do what we call a competitive market analysis, we start out with our home valuations, and everybody can go to Zillow and they can look up their home value, but there's probably another dozen other tools out there that we can cross-reference. So in addition to Zillow, we have CoreLogic, we have Redfin, and we also have Realtor.com, all of which use different calculations to determine an estimated value of a home. Well, one of the big mistakes that people make is not really taking into consideration not only defects that may exist in their home, but external defects that are outside of your control, or external environmental defects. A really great example is the home's proximity to power lines. That's an external defect that may or may not show up in the calculations, right? So if you're simply comparing like-kind homes in square footage, another item that you may not be able to compare is a floor plan that is a tri-level versus a split level. And the floor plan on the tri-level and split level can really affect the pricing strategy based on how that's laid out. I've seen some really well laid out split levels, and I've seen some really horrible laid out split levels. Oftentimes, some of these aggregates are not going to calculate a rambler versus a two-story. So as you're considering a pricing strategy, you have to understand all the conditions, not just the calculated conditions. So we start with an automated valuation model, and then we go into a comparison model. And there are three different types of comparisons. You're looking at those that are your active competition. Those would be homes that are available on the market today that compete with your home in price. The second type is pending. Those are the happy sellers that got into contract and are on their way towards close. And then the last one are history. Now, some of the trouble that we have with history is our market changes, not just seasonally speaking, but also in time of different economic factors. Last year was an election year. So some of the stuff that happened from, say, September to November, December is going to look really different than what we're going to see going forward. So you have to take all of those things into consideration. So when you are considering having a big impact, make sure you understand what is needed with regards to your pricing strategy. Now, also, if you're selling in 2025, you need to learn to leverage the creative financing options. What do I mean by this? Well, most buyers at this point have settled into higher interest rates. and they are prepared to make offers based on those interest rates. However, there is a promise of possible softening in those future interest rates. And in order to maximize the bottom line, when you sell a house, take into consideration whether or not you have the equity in your home to offer some kind of financing options that will allow a buyer options to refinance and get a lower rate in the future, and maybe pay an artificially low rate. And again, they have to qualify for the higher rate in the short term while we wait for rates to soften a bit. There's no guarantees that rates will, but I will say this, that it's better to prepare for that as a seller and have that as an upfront opportunity than it is to play catch up by overpricing and not offering creative financing opportunities. Now, lastly, timing your sale strategically. So what does it mean if you want to get the most out of your home? A lot of people will ask me, Dan, when is the best time to sell a home? And here is my answer is when it is the best time for you to sell your home. Just like the stock market, timing the market could leave you disappointed and confused. So don't ever base your sale off of when you anticipate a higher traffic. But I will say this, I tend to not list a home right before a long weekend. I think it's Memorial Day in the spring, because there's a lot less attention. So we are going to be strategic about when to list. And generally speaking, in order to have maximum impact prior to a weekend, I have my sellers list on a Wednesday. This allows for full syndication to all internet places well before the open houses. It allows me for 2 full days of open houses prior, and that way everybody gets the chance to see the house prior to a offer negotiation. We also delay when we are reviewing offers. It doesn't mean offers can't come in before that, but what we do ask is that we ask all potential buyers to make sure they do their due diligence prior to writing an offer. So those are 3 things that you can do in 2025 to ensure you have a fantastic outcome as a seller. Maximize the equity in your home, utilize great pricing strategies, leverage creative financing options, and finally, time your sale strategically. So that's your Real Talk segment. If you are a home seller, if you're somebody out there that's exploring it, you could reach out to me. My phone number is right there, 425-276-7008. We'd be happy to consult and see if we would be the right people to help you sell your home in 2025. All right, coming up next, we are going to welcome Brian Ferguson of King of Trades. We're going to talk about some of the practical things that his company offers to help you, home sellers and homeowners, maximize the equity in their home. So we'll come back after this short commercial break.
The pest stops here. Green City Pest Control is your full-service pest solution for all your pest control needs. With an owner with 32 years experience, a board-certified entomologist, and rodent specialist, we do it all. Bats to rats, crawl space, or attic. Call us and we will resolve your problem. 425-413-9700.
Welcome back to our show. I am your host, Dan Edwards, with Keller Williams, Bothell, and the Seattle real estate team. We are welcoming Brian. I saw you there for a second. Brian Ferguson with King of Trades. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Hey, pretty good. Thank you for having me on.
Awesome. Hey, I would love for you to just kind of share a little bit of your profile. Who are you? Where are you from? How long you've been doing this, et cetera, et cetera.
So we're a general contractor company out of the east side area, but we pretty much do anywhere from King County, Pierce County, or Snohomish County. Basically, when we say the name King of Trades, we really mean it. We want to do pretty much anything when it comes to your home, but more than anything, like the honey-do list is kind of where it started was. So like all the small things, and most time it takes a couple of different people to come in. We try to like knock all those things out at once when it comes to fixing a cabinet or fixing the countertop or changing out lights and fixtures, just kind of making it easier to get a couple of things done at once to make the house look nicer.
Awesome. So you said you serve King, Pierce, and Snohomish County. When it comes to your bread and butter, that is that punch list, that kind of honey-do list. What are some of the homeowners what are some of the bigger projects you guys have had?
So right now we're on like a full remodel is typically where they turn into. So the honey-do list is kind of like the best way of getting started. And then from there, typically they want like a bathroom or a kitchen or, something small done.
Right.
And from there, we kind of build up. But yeah, right now we're doing the basement, the master bedroom, two bedrooms have to get restructured because we had to put in seismic beaming for the project. So we got like I think it's a 42-foot 2 by 16 wedges together to make for basically the hold the two walls together because the basement seismic changes were happening. So we just basically shored all that up. So we do things like that. So simple projects for us, but things that sound crazy to other people. It's kind of what we take on with being the company that we are. We do a lot of random projects for anywhere from a flipper to somebody that really wants to take care of their home. But we try to, as my dad being a general contractor and architect, so it's kind of second year or second generation situation.
Yeah.
You know, believing in the codes and the rules and all the things that come with it. Really,
The dogs, they really start talking right when you get on. There we go.
so I
Um,
have a new Doberman, a baby Doberman, and so it's amazing. Besides the fact that when you have a new dog and you have an old dog, they don't get along all the time. So you try to separate them, and they all want to say hi, right at the same time.
that's
But
awesome.
it's my new little baby. But no, for our general contractor company, we really care about our product and our house. And that's why I say our house, because honestly, when we walk into a home, we really actually believe it's our home in the sense of like we really want to take care of it. We want to get your value back. My dad's an architect first, so I kind of look at the numbers more than I kind of look at the project. So we want to do something for their home. We want to make sure that when they kind of go back and reevaluate their home, they get value back out of it because that is the purpose of what our job is. And at the end of the day, is to help them kind of create more wealth in that exact same space.
What are the things that will have the biggest impact that you guys can help if somebody is thinking about selling their home?
Permitted square footage. I mean, it's obviously easier to clean up the house and you name it, but honestly, adding another bathroom that's actual extra square footage on the home is just drastic huge because typically an extra 700 or 800 square feet on your home. I mean, my dad's done it 3 times at his house. It went from 200 to 500, then from 500 to 1.9. So I mean, it's a huge difference if you do it right. And so that's always tell people when you permit it, you do all that process. It's gonna take you about a year, but it's gonna give you so much value in comparison.
Awesome. What about on the exterior? What are some of the things on the exterior that can really add to value?
Synthetic decking, I love that stuff. I mean, it's beautiful. It lasts forever. Hardy's my, or I'm sorry, AZAC decking is probably like my favorite, just because their warranty is amazing. But pretty much all of them have really good warranties right now. But yeah, any synthetic decking with the metal railings, I think those are just amazing, especially second story ones.
Right
You
there.
already know. Yep. Yeah. There you go. There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
Um,
we definitely
and
did synthetic decking in the Northwest, right? It's something that I love the smell and look of cedar. I don't like the fact that every year I have to stain it.
yeah, and sometimes you got to like pull boards out. You got to find a supplier with the same exact like cut, and it's just a lot of stuff that comes to it. Where it's synthetic, they seem to be very mindful of that. And I don't know if you've seen some of the cool designs. I like to do those ones where you do like multiple colors instead of just one. So
Mm,
sometimes we do like a border that's like a blue and then gray on the inside, or sometimes we'll do like an Art Deco where we take like 6 different colors and we kind of like swoop them all in, and it's really cool.
Well, and I know, for us, paint is a huge thing that, it's, a $40 bucket of paint, but, thousands of dollars. Do you guys do jobs just like painting?
Yeah, that's what again honey-do list, right? So like
Yeah.
we know painting is important, but usually where we're a little bit different is we're looking to like texture and fixing all the gaps and the holes and make sure that everything looks a little more seamless. So if somebody went in there and they kind of semi-patched the wall and did an okay job, we're not going to just paint over. We're going to try to take out a rattle can and even maybe thin coat it real quick and make it look right. So that's kind of like where we try to make a difference is to just make it look seamlessly ready for sale. And we
Awesome.
also try to advise simple colors. We do not try to tell them to put in 19 colors. We tell
Right.
people the best color in the world is white so they can change it later on.
Awesome. So, Brian, we often have our sellers pre-inspect properties. Can you work off of a punch list like that, an inspection
Yeah,
process?
prefer it. I tell them send me over the appraisal punch list, and then we'll run through it personally, and I'll get out to the house. And because, like I said, we've been in the industry a long time, I kind of know what you need done and what's not really that important. And because if it's a really long list, we typically will do a couple of things for free on the list that are just like seamlessly easy, and we won't just add them on there. We'll just knock them out. Like if your gate's kind of a little wiggly, and it's just tighten up a couple of screws. We're not going to add to the punch list. We're just going to get it done so we can get to the gate ourselves.
All right, good. I love that. So then finally, how do people listening or watching this podcast, how do they get in touch with you?
Oh, so the website is kingofTradesLLC.com, or you can call the phone number. It's 206-251-3891. Yeah, we can come out and give you guys an estimate. We have a great estimating team, and we're pretty amazing across the board when it comes to getting out there and getting there on time. And
yeah, how long does an estimate take?
Honestly, like an hour. We've done a lot of estimates. We probably do about 200 or 300 estimates a year. So we're not in their house very long. We like take pictures, quick video, ask you a lot of questions. So probably more of the interview would be pre. So we like to ask questions beforehand, so we kind of understand what we're walking into and what you're, that magical dream that's in their head. We want to get that reality, and then try to kind of, work with what is in the building.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, listen, Brian, I thank you for coming on the show. Again, what's the number so that we
206-251-3891. It's kingofTradesLLC.com.
Yeah.
But you can just look it up. If you look up King of Trades, I promise you can find me online.
King of Trades LLC. You Google King of Trades LLC. Awesome. Brian, appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you so much. We are going to go hit a short commercial break. Then we're going to do our mortgage moment with our good friend, Tucker Maxwell. Come back after this short break.
Are you worried about your health holding up as you age? Buying a new home often involves paying your mortgage for 15 to 30 years, and you'll need to be at your best to keep working strong as you age. Cummins Chiropractic and Wellness has helped families just like yours regain optimum health as they work hard to provide for their family. The team at Cummins Chiropractic and Wellness treats patients with both crisis care and lifestyle care with our state-of-the-art individualized services. We have seen thousands of people reach and maintain their best health as they age. To learn more about how chiropractic can help you achieve your best health, you can call Cummins Chiropractic and Wellness at 425-590-9158 or reach us online at CumminsChiropractic.com.
All right, welcome back to the show. I am here with my co-host, Tucker Maxwell. Tucker, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much, Dan. How are we doing?
We're doing good. Did you have a good week?
Yeah. It's been an interesting week. A lot of going on in the economic world and a lot of the Fed meeting. Just a lot to digest.
Yeah. Hey, I want to just circle back to my our conversation we had off the air before we even started, and it was predicated from a conversation that one of my agents walked by, and she had mentioned she was calling a buyer, and the buyer said, yeah, we're going to wait because it sounds like the things that the Trump administration are doing are going to lower housing prices. And Tucker and I have talked about policy before, and so I think it's something that I thought that's interesting that's coming up, and I wanted to bring it up and kind of crosstalk with you about it. Is in my mind, I can't imagine what anybody could do to lower housing prices, even in the next 4 years. I kind of think about that. So what are some of the things we were saying, with regards?
It comes down to supply and demand, and no president can really, like with a magic wand, all of a sudden create a surplus of inventory. Like, how long does it take builders to build, and how long does it take for us to get ahead of this wave? We have way more buyers looking to get in the market and renters than there is available homes or that builders can build. So even talking about permitting process and speeding that up, getting some of the red tape out of the way, that's still going to take, like you mentioned, 4, 5, 6 years for builders to, start to be able to improve the permitting process to then build and get in the market. And that still doesn't talk about lumber costs, labor costs, things like that. So
were you in the market? Were you in the market in 2007 and 8? Were you a part of
in college?
You were in college. Okay. Yeah. Young guy. Good for you.
Yeah.
So, for me, I mean, we all knew that it was too good to be true. We saw the writing on the wall, the ramp up of incredible interest and people wanting to get in houses. And it was like, they had pulled out the stops for qualifications, right? And so the only time in modern history where we went from roaring housing market to just falling flat was in 2008. So the thing that I'm thinking is like, okay, well, what if that were to happen again? What would that look like? It would be a tremendous amount of people losing or walking away from their homes in order to create that inventory. So if that's not going to happen, because the lending standards have been very stringent and interest rates are still very high, if that's not going to happen, what would change? And I think that's where it continues to lead us to this supply challenge. I would love to see this gargantuan effort to come up with some way to create more inventory. And yeah, that would definitely have some softening effect on prices, but not a catastrophic one, because essentially from a federal level, there's not much they can do. It is a state and local jurisdiction thing. Those are the things that will have the biggest impacts, is when the states and the cities and the counties say, yes, let's open up more land. Let's create more availability. Let's streamline. And so I can't picture anything. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Now let's go ahead.
Well, real quick. So what's your thoughts on, you have this wave of wealth that people have talked about with the baby boomer generation sitting on these homes? Is there any possibility for them to eliminate capital gains tax or something to that effect, or a 1031 exchange into a non-like for like product? Does that free up inventory different than, and can the Trump administration control that?
Yeah, I was thinking from that standpoint, but really what percentage of the market is that?
Right.
There, it may be 3, maybe 2% of the market as a whole, where there's somebody that's like, hey, I'm just holding on to this house even though it's dilapidated. And folks like myself who are investors in that, I picked one up this year from somebody that did that. Their incentive was the same. The estate had to pay taxes. If somehow they freed it up, yeah, I'd probably do it, but that would be maybe not even 3% of the total market available, and I don't think that's enough to make a dent, but it would be good. I think that would be helpful for people. I'm for that kind of a policy, but yeah, I don't think it would create enough.
Okay, so one more. What about like this Airbnb generation, where we had a bunch of people flood into the Airbnb market during COVID because people were working remote and they were traveling more? Some people are, thinking that there's going to be a wave of these, that they realize that the short-term rental market isn't getting the return they had expected, and those will come back to the market. But I don't think we've seen that either.
No, and here's the thing that we have seen is, due to policies by Amazon, we're saying, hey, you got to be back in the office. Microsoft, you got to be back in the office. We're seeing, and this is something we've talked about for a while, is that the condo market in Seattle has been very soft for several years. Mm-hmm. Well, if Amazon's saying, hey, it's time to come back, then people might go, okay, I guess I'll get rid of my place in Snohomish and I'm going to buy a condo in Seattle. That way I don't have to commute. So you could actually, the time to maybe have gotten a deal on a condo in Seattle may have been last fall, because people are moving back into the city because they have to, so that right there doesn't increase inventory. Right. It just creates more of a problem by people moving around. So, and are you suggesting that people with Airbnbs that are no longer cash flowing are going to get rid of them? Is that what you're saying?
I think that's the hope of these would-be buyers. But yeah. I think the reality is these people have such low interest rates, potentially bought it as a second home or even an investment during the years of 2020 and 2021, it still would make sense for those people to convert it to a long-term rental and probably could still cash flow. So I still don't see a flood of inventory with that, but I just wanted to address that because I am hearing from buyers like this wave of Airbnbs or this wave of the baby boomer generation transferring wealth. And I just don't think it helps us enough.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it does. I don't think we're looking at a high volume of change there. Good thoughts though. I like it. All right, let's talk about, well, first off, the Fed met this week and they basically said.
They didn't really say anything. They basically said, we need more time to see how things are going to go. And so inflation came out the week before and it was right in line with what they had hoped for. And so what was cool is they didn't say anything damaging. then that's typically what happens after these Fed meetings is they do what we anticipate. Like the first couple, we knew that they were going to do a 0.25% increase, and they did that. It was exactly as we had expected, and it was priced in. This time we knew that they were going to just kind of sit still. That's what they did. And they came out and they said, we're going to continue sitting still, and we don't really want to, stir the market with our comments. And so it was a perfect meeting because they just said, let's wait till next meeting.
Yeah, sometimes people, let silence do the heavy lifting, and just kind of let the markets kind of work themselves out. I think, especially if things are just going as expected, no need to pontificate. Okay, so now we have a batch of people that are thinking about selling in 2025, and maybe they're moving up, maybe they're moving down. What are your suggestions for people in that situation?
Yeah, I think it starts with them assessing their needs. Like what is the driver of this decision? Are we moving up? Is the family growing and we need more space? So we're looking to expand. And so then begs the question of, are we willing to take on a higher payment? What does our, available funds look like and so forth? And, what does this dream scenario look like and how do we get there? So that's the first thing is kind of do some soul searching. What is it that we need? What type of payment are we willing to take on? Do we have liquidity that we can use without selling first? Like just kind of get some thoughts going so that way they can come to us and present it with what they're thinking.
Okay. So understanding their needs, that's great. Okay. Then what?
Then it's moving into the financing side of things. So, a lot of these folks are sitting on a lot of equity, which is another piece to the conversation we just had is people are sitting on so much equity in the United States right now. They're not going to default. They're not going to walk away from it. But how do we get these move up buyers into that next home, knowing that for a bulk of the market is going to have their down payment tied up in that departing residence? So then it begs the question of, can we qualify with a much smaller down payment? Can we qualify with 5% down to get us into that new home, then prepare our departing residents, sell it, and then come in and do, a principal reduction to get our payment down to what we really had hoped for, get to 20% to remove the mortgage insurance, whatever their goal is. But can they qualify without the need to sell first? If not, then we need to explore bridge loan solutions. Can we tap into the equity on that departing residence to use that as the down payment if we don't have those funds available? And can they qualify for the multiple layers of payments? So that's kind of option two. The third option, which depending on the market is the tricky one, is are we contingent on the sale of that? Does that departing home have to sell first? And then how do we transition into our new home? And do we have, I call it a landing spot? Do you have somewhere where you can land in between? Because it's difficult to assume that these transactions are going to line up and close perfectly. You and I have done it before, but it's difficult. Typically you have your home sell and then it may take 30, 60, 90 days to get into the new home. Where are you going to live for that time period? So these are all considerations that people need to do before they start either the listing of their departing or even going out and looking at new homes is what are our options?
Yeah. And I know you're really good at kind of sitting down and analyzing all of those things. What are some of the common mistakes?
I think one is moving too fast, like getting a new home under contract and then not having their home ready to sell and then having their seller say, hey, we're not going to extend. We need to go back on the market. You're taking too long. So making sure that your home is ready to go on the market. They've met with you. They've done that honey-do list. They're ready to go on the market because once they make offers and if it's accepted, we're tied to a contract now. Mm-hmm. And so I've had multiple clients kind of get ahead of themselves and be so excited about the purchase that they didn't have their listing ready to go. And then they ended up losing the home they really fell in love with because they weren't prepared to sell theirs or was sat on the market longer than expected. The second thing is being very realistic with the price. And I had a call earlier today with an agent and we were talking about how the same person has two kind of schools of thoughts, right? They want the highest dollar price and no inspection repairs or anything on the sale. And they want the discount on the purchase and they want them to fix everything. But it's being realistic. If you are in this situation where you need to sell quickly, maybe we need to be a little more aggressive with price. Maybe we need to definitely listen to Dan and say, Dan, what's the price that will move this home the quickest? Not necessarily the price that my neighbors might have sold for a couple of years ago that I'm trying to chase.
Yeah, I think it's really, I think part of the challenge here is this is when we're trying to represent our clients most, what's most important to them, and that is ensuring that they get the house that they want with the right amount of down payment down there. So I always try to be very conservative in what I can promise. And it is pretty typical. There is a personality trait out there that says, I want top for my house, but I want to abuse somebody on the buy. And really, I think when push comes to shove and you get into the transactions, I think sellers can start to understand how it feels to have the pressure of selling your house and some of the objections that buyers have on their home. And it's much better to take a measured approach to your expectations when you're buying and selling.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think one that I didn't discuss in the financing piece that people should be aware of is recasting. Check with their lender, and can they bring in those funds after it sells? Like, the ideal scenario is like, let's have you buy first with minimum down that you can qualify for, get you into that new home so you can start your life and keep things rolling. Now you can be a little more selective on the sell of that. You can wait for the right price. You can do the repair work. You can really stage it properly. And so I think that gives flexibility. And then when that departing resident sells, if the lender allows for it, we do here at Guild is we will allow you to do a large principal reduction without refinancing, and we'll lower your payment, which is kind of the hurdle for a lot of people, is they're scared of that new payment being so large with a small down payment. Well, give us time, sell yours the right way for the most money, and then we can do a principal reduction to get you payment to where you
I think that's a great way to go about it in our market, where it is kind of a like, we're calling it volatile, but that's not it. It's where is it you want to be able to have very few obstructions to getting your offer accepted when you find the right house, by being able to be in a situation where you can recast your loan later after you sell your current house. It also makes the move easier because you can move in first, get yourself settled, and and move out of the old house, all that kind of stuff. So lots of things. Obviously, Tucker's number is going on the screen, 425-757-9202. Final thought?
No, we love navigating this whole buy and sell, whole scenario. So don't be afraid to start the process, and we'll help you out.
All right. What's the plan for the weekend? Are we going to get any snow in the hills?
I hope so. We haven't had snow in 2 weeks, so I think it is time for some snow.
Yeah, we got a drought, and it's supposed to snow today and tomorrow, I think, up in the maybe a little bit down here, but I don't think so.
Right. Yeah, it looks questionable next week.
Well, next week, the week after that, is the Seattle Golf Show. So get your tickets.
Yes, I'll be there. I actually just got a new hybrid yesterday, so I'm headed to the range.
Right on. Okay, cool. Well, hey, Tucker, thanks for the discussion. I like our impromptu discussion. I'm going to kind of split that out and post that here for everybody to see. I just good conversation. If you are thinking of buying a home and you're in a place, Tucker's the guy. Reach out to us. We can help you. Join us next week, where I think next week we might get our rental update. So I'm going to reach out and get a rental update. And everybody have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Dan.